Good evening, all the viewers. I am your host, Peena. I'm back again with another special disruptive education live session on Geti or Global Education and Training Institute. And for this evening, we have our new ma'am, and experimental curricular activities. Having her exposure in education system of countries like USA, Singapore, South Korea, she has developed engaging perspectives in 21st century education. She aims to contextualize these viewpoints in the face of our new reality by talking about the value of resilience in education and how to terms with this new normal, but also excel in it. So today she will talk on, as I said, resilience in the new normal, accepting, learning, and overcoming. So I would request ma'am to take over the session. We welcome you at this forum of Getty. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Preena. Very good evening to everybody. Thank you for that really warm welcome to me. I would like to welcome all the educators with us today and all the other audience too. Well, I'm really happy to be a part of this disruptive education movement. And I would like to thank Dr. Sunita Gandhi for this marvelous initiative. I would also like to tell you that today is going to be a reflective session where I would like to speak about resilience in the new normal, accepting certain things, learning from a lot of things, and overcoming. Well, dear friends and educators, we all know that these are unprecedented times. And as aware individuals, we know that as long as the world has not found a cure, let's say, or a vaccine for COVID 19, we may have to adjust to this new normal. Now, what is this new normal? Simply put, we can say it's a new way of living and going about our lives, work, and interactions with other people. Now, since contracting COVID 19 is not really associated with a certain lifestyle, the level of adaptation and the changes that we have to make in our lives is much higher. These adaptations and these changes are considered our new normal. We also know that we may have to live in this new normal for a, let's say, for a really, really long period of time. This new equilibrium that we are talking about, that we are going to take head on, it will take some more months to set in. And the global pandemic will create a new order and stereotype. Can you believe it, dear friends, that it has already been 95 days? Talking of India, some schools have already begun functioning. Well, we're talking of education, right? So some schools have already begun functioning, and the rest will begin in just a matter of few days, whether or not the school buildings open. Now, in our changed lives, there is a lot of intrusion in our privacy. I hope all of us will agree. Due to the need of contact tracing, there is pandemic control, then there are online classes reaching homes almost now. And therefore, there is already a perceptible change in the way the humans are interacting with each other. There is disruption. We are noticing disruption in supply and travel chains, to economic slowdowns that we can see throughout the world. A lot is on the cards, and mostly it is not positive. These changes, these socio-economic variables, these are all making us move towards a new equilibrium state. And this is what we call the new normal. But remember, dear educators, yes, we are in the beginning of tough times, and we talk of the new normal. We need to understand certain things more. The best thing for us now to understand is that in this new normal, we would obviously look forward to a new being, a new individual, a new normal individual with different sets of fears as well as prejudices. These are difficult times for everybody, but I somehow believe it's a really tough phase for the students. Now, to understand a student's perspective, I just interviewed children across cultures and fortunately getting a teacher's reward. The survey which I conducted, I could get through many of my students in many different countries. I could get on to USA, colleges in California, then Cornell, Boston, other states in Massachusetts, Singapore. I could talk with my children from schools across India, the various high schools in India. I could even talk with the children studying in engineering colleges, medical colleges in India, and also institutes of design. But sadly, one thing which I noticed was that the bottom line is that they are all worried. We know that children and the young, they alike are, fond of thriving on personal interactions, on physical connect, learning of skills, etc., which is difficult to gain currently and is bringing spirits down. But ever heard of resilience? I'm sure most of us have heard of it. According to positive psychology, resilience is that ineffable quality that allows us to be knocked down by life and come back stronger than ever. And today, dear educators, friends, we need resilience all the more. It is imperative for the educators also at the current time because the teaching landscape has changed completely. It is completely transformed. But somehow what I believe is that you, dear educators, you have been doing great all through these times. You have encountered hundreds and hundreds of tough moments every day. And if I speak on a little humorous note, we are challenged over and over by the things that our students do or by the things that our students don't do, or the unplanned fire drill, or let's say the announcement of a mandatory meeting after school, or an upset parent showing up at our door just 5 minutes before the school starts, or the broken photocopy machine, a request, the worst part of it, a request that we cover someone else's class during our prep because they didn't show, or n number of things. But developing resilience, having it in us all this while, has helped us to sail through. And once again, it shall be an attempt to make ourselves and our pupils resilient, conditioning them that way, mostly without really talking about it. Well, many have already walked this talk. I'm not talking of something really new or extraordinary, but now it has to be done with a greater sense of preparedness, more consciousness, and above it all, with resilience. Something, like walking on a really, really tight rope. So I just decided to talk about resilience in the new normal. And when I decided to do that, I thought, let me have a presentation which can take us through all this, which I would like to share with you. So am I able to show the presentation upon the screen, Prina?
Yes, ma'am, it's there.
Okay, thank you. So here we are talking about education during COVID and beyond it. And therefore, it brings us to a worth noting and worth pondering point, concept, change in the lifestyle, inclusion in our lives, resilience. Resilience in the new normal. Accepting certain things as we move on from here, learning new knowledge, new ways as we move on from here, and overcoming a number of challenges. When we talk of education in the new normal, accepting things, learning, and overcoming, we must, I strongly believe, have a set of ideas and practices that promote resilience. My ideas here today are based on a body of research and practice development called the resilient therapy. There can be a number of approaches. I have chosen 4 according to their theory, and they are belonging, learning, coping, and core self. If we talk about these approaches, when we talk of belonging, it's that sense of belonging to a place, to a setup, that feeling that makes you feel very comfortable in your skin in that setup. Then we come to learning how we can see it today in its many new ramifications. Coping, a very important strategy these days, the coping strategies, the coping mechanisms that we all as humans, as professionals, need in our day-to-day lives. And then we'll be talking about the core self, as to how we see our core self under transformation in some time from now. So, as we begin with belonging, just to explain it quickly, it is that feeling of security and support, that safety, that sense of safety when your efforts are accepted, they are recognized in a setup, when you feel included in a setup, and when you know that as an individual, as a member, you have an identity in a group. It is the basic fundamental drive. It is imperative for us to develop in our children. When we talk of pupils, when we talk of our students in the school, we must work hard on it. How? We have to find place for a child to belong to, and this place is not physical, it's not necessarily physical. We have to, perhaps by feeling connected, making the child feel connected to the school, work on this. The school should provide child with caring and supportive relationships, and being part of the wider school community, it benefits the pupil's health and academic outcomes. Caring relationships, they can be amidst the peers, they can be of the child with the other staff members, it can be even with the principal, it can be with the various coordinators and in charges who oversee the classes, inspect the classes, even while remote learning. There has to be a bond of the child, a positive bond between himself and the other authorities and other things which constitute his school life, despite it all being done remotely. It's surely going to have a very positive impact on the pupil's health and, in turn, on the academic outcomes also. We also must work hard to identify a place or a group where a child can go when they are feeling vulnerable. That's very important. Since we are not in any physical space now, it's all remote learning that we're talking of. And in the times to come, we might be going to a hybrid form of learning where definitely online learning will be having predominance. We need to understand that a safe place or a group where the child can go can be a place of conversation with the school counselor, the psychological counselor. It can be a teacher mentor to the child. It can be a senior student to the child. It can be one of the favorite teachers of the child. And yes, as educators, we need to work a little and find this out about our child. Don't miss, dear teachers, educators, don't miss on a child with a grumpy face, with a lazy tone, and with drooping eyes. You teachers know your kids very well. We just have to stay alert. And now all the more, because I'll reiterate, physical contact is missing. These children are really missing being with their teachers in the school building. The school building, which for many of the people would be just a structure of, you can say, bricks and mortar. But for these children, it was their second home. And staying away from it, from the teachers, from the helpers, from the peer groups, it's taking its toll on the children. So even during the online lessons, never miss on a child with a grumpy face, with a little lazy tone, drooping eyes. We can catch it very fast. And please don't ignore. Developing spirituality has shown to be a great route to supporting pupils' resilience. If you want a child to be resilient, to fall back upon something, to have some strength to bounce back, we have to develop the sense of his understanding of an inner self in him, within him, some qualities. How do we do that? Most of the institutions are already doing it through moral education lessons, through value education lessons. You talk about virtues with your children, if not the other two in a very defined fashion. We talk about the virtues with our children. Please connect things and your lessons and your activities with these more. We might be running school online classes for shorter duration now, but we have to work on these plans and we have to integrate these small but very profound things, because since the whole landscape is changing, there have to be changes that we have to bring in. Even we are new to the whole thing, but there are some things which come with experience to many educators, and they must go on as they are. There must be a chance of developing positive self esteem and a sense of being able to make their own mark on what happens in the world. So, the children must be given an opportunity for some individual inputs. We can have groups also. We can have small groups where children are working on activities, even in the class activities, but value their individual effort. When we do that, the child will have a sense of self esteem, that he is also making a mark, that he is making a positive input in some way, and the results can be marvelous. You see a happy child, you see a performing child. That is why it becomes very important. Now, helping people identify their responsibilities and obligations is also very necessary. We are not there to provide a child all the comfort and all the happiness and just make him understand that it's one way thing. No, a child has to feel responsible for so many things. How do we do this in remote learning? We can continue with many of the practices. A class monitor can stay a class monitor. House prefects can be there. House captains can be there. The head boy, head girl can be there. House meetings can be held. Student council interactions can be held. And responsibilities can be carried on with by the children in a different shape, no doubt, but they can be done. For example, in junior classes, it's right that the teacher takes the attendance, but the log in some way of maybe only the absentees is sent to the monitor or is sent to the attendance in charge so that he also feels in control and responsible. The whole idea is to keep the child engaged to this online learning module also and positively engaged with good mental outlook towards things. We have to make sure that we get good influences in the life of the child. Encourage the pupil to think about developing a relationship with a role model. Now, still, we might be in whatever stage and age of our life. When we hear of a role model, we definitely remember someone, a mentor to us, a teacher of ours, some hero, some actor, some sports star, some social worker. There is somebody or the else who we take as our role model because we are fond of that person. We appreciate the qualities of that person. And many a times we want to emulate that person. It gives happiness also. It gives satisfaction also. So just talk with your children. They also must be having role models. You can try and find out. And these role models can be anybody, as I wrote over here, can be a teacher, can be a club organizer, can be a school captain, or can be simply a senior at school. Try arranging interactions. As I said previously also, the wider school community must be looked upon. So try arranging interactions. The senior students are mentoring the junior students, the student council is interacting, house meetings can be held, and many, many other co-curricular activities. And here we have to understand one more thing. We have to transcend these boundaries of grades and sections. An activity can be held across sections, across grades, across the primary section maybe. Complete senior section might be involved in a thing, or maybe into school activities. If we think more, we can come up with more innovative ideas. Yes, talking of relationships, when the kids were in school, they thrived on relationships, on friendships, relationships with the teachers. We all have been wanting to see our favorite teacher in the morning, interact with him or her. We have friends who we want to hang out with. The same was true with the kids also. But now the things are changed. And there had been instances when we used to get upset with the friends, when the friendships used to break, the breakups used to happen, and things like that. We have to tell for those times which are past as well as the times which they will be living in the future and the current times, that they must learn to hold on to each other. Each of the relationships is important. The friendships are important. They have heard that jingle, har ek friend zaruri hota hai. It's actually true. You never know from where comes the positive influence. So just teach them this, inculcate this habit in them to value relationships in their life. It is important to help people increase the number of good influences, that goes without saying, so that they overshadow the negative ones in their lives. You have to work on the child to identify what makes a good relationship. What qualities in this child can help him have a really good relationship? How can he develop these virtues because of which he can have relationships and keep them going also? And then they will feel better because they'll be having healthier relationships. These relationships somehow need to extend and transcend beyond class, section, and school. Relationships outside the family, with the wider community, are all very important for resilience. We are not in one setup all the time. We're a human being, and the mind has no reins. Wherever it wants, it may venture and imagine things and want to be with people. Are chosen by the mind to be with, think about them. You have to condition it all. Relationships can be built through activities or events which can lead to something good. We have been doing it in the past, and we must continue to carry on with it. One way to enable this is also to encourage the schools to form partnerships with NGOs. We also call them the community based organizations. They support the pupils in after school activities. I remember when I was there in this institution, we used to take up activities like Each One Teach One programs. They were amazing in their own right. Children really enjoyed doing it. And they could have been taken up right from the junior section till way up higher, and that worked really well. So these kind of initiatives with NGOs or with agencies outside the schools also can be taken up. We can help children have small teams, study groups. It works very well. The child doesn't feel isolated in any way. His limited abilities, with his limited abilities, he may not feel challenged in any way because the team spirit works. If I don't have it, maybe my partner can do it better. And that all brings positivity in the child and helps in the class also. See, we have walked past our past, and our past, which was very different from our present. Now we understand that that was a beautiful past. This is human nature. After living one experience, we understand its value. But no worries. This is a new era. This is a very changed time, unforeseen time, as we call it. We have to face this with resilience. We have to remember the old time and then walk ahead. Take notice of your pupils' success, strengths, talents, and interests. And it is going to build resilience in them, and they will feel confident about it. Talk about these things. Even through a single assignment, you can encourage a child. If the writing is seen somehow somewhere, a craft exercise is seen somehow somewhere, an auditory exercise is seen by you in any of the remote learning classes, encourage the child like never before. We have to reiterate to the child that he is special, he's precious, with a precious set of abilities, and it is going to work wonders. Help pupils to notice and feel good about what they have already achieved. Talk about the activities of the previous sessions. They all must have done something or the other which is good and which must have been brilliant for their own self and otherwise also. Give e-certificates in the current times. Let's not be nice about it. Just give it freely. Children shall feel very happy and accomplished. Encourage your children to use what they have achieved as a way of helping them cope with stress and adversity. It's possible that a child is feeling sad because he cannot, you can say, cope up with the remote learning very well. We can remind him of all his abilities from the past and reinforce that belief in him that nothing is difficult. The change over, the switching over to the new system might take some time, might take a toll, but it's not there to last forever. A good maxim to follow here is that there should be no deconstruction without appreciation. Now, this we all know as educators. There should be no negative remark. There will be, well, there are deficiencies in the children, and we are teachers. We have to make mistakes right. We have to teach them, guide them, and help them. So we can't stop checking the children, but make sure it's followed by a really positive remark. It goes a really long way. So no deconstruction without appreciation. Otherwise, all we end up doing is nagging pupils and staff and parents and make them feel let down. See, we are into a tough phase. and we are trying to be very understanding about the new things with the children, with pedagogies. Everybody is trying to be, but let not complacence come in way of any of our efforts or endeavors. Let's not stop understanding that more challenges are needed. We need to have a challenging situation in life to make us further push our boundary and perform. Help the pupils to take a risk and to try new things. Encourage the pupils to set a challenge that will give them a good experience. Get them to plan to do it, and then, most important, make them review it. And this is going to definitely help them identify the three W's: what works well, what went well, and what did not go that well. These are two parts of the coin. They will always be there. So let's focus on both. We come to the next approach, that is learning. How does learning go from here? We have to make the school life work as much as possible, despite the constraints, despite the ordeals, and despite the challenges. And that's why we talk of resilience. A positive school is that which offers a very stable environment for learning. How to get along with adults and other young people, finding out about established or accepted social ways of behaving, which in turn contributes to academic learning skill. So, all interactions, in whichever way possible, we must encourage and we must facilitate. As a teacher, encourage the pupils to consider how they could make their school life better. Still, there is a lot of scope to better ourselves. There always is. Whenever we feel we are at our best, we must understand and remember there is more to be done. And what things do the child need to do to ensure that they are happy? A teacher must make sure so that they have a really good experience. Now, we are at a stage when we talk of unforeseen times, unprecedented times. What has happened? We never thought of this thing. We never thought it would happen like that. That is perfectly all right. That is just all right. But that doesn't mean that there is no life ahead. Things will be normal. Maybe this new normal becomes a normal. Maybe we go back to the normal very soon, very fast, with combined efforts of all. It's a global emergency. Everybody is on it. We all are devising ways and means. We all are giving each other strength to survive this, to combat the challenges, to sail through it. So let's not give up hope on the future. So when we talk of pedagogical methods in the class, when we talk of learning procedures, please make sure that you keep your focus on the future years of the child's career as well. We have to do that. It's good for the child to understand and to feel that there is a lot that is to come his way on this journey called life, and he has to do very well because he can, because he's able to do well. So help them to have a map of the future, and mapping out the future years is going to be very helpful, especially in the senior years. Till the time we were having school, we had career counseling cells in the school, we had career counselors, we had people conducting aptitude tests for the child to know of his strengths and weaknesses and which direction to go. Let us continue with that. Let us not give up on any of our normal or routine practices. The child must understand life is going to be normal very soon and very fast, and he will have to have himself on a journey for which he needs a plan. So let's keep on doing that. It can happen in the primary section also. We can talk with the primary section of the way the subjects will change once they reach the junior classes, of the junior class, how they're going to face the board exams, not in a detrimental way, not to scare them in any way, but this is how challenges mature as you mature. This should be our effort all the while. Encourage the pupils to think ahead and to have a strong sense of purpose in regards to the schoolwork and their life at school. I just came across a study over here, and in this recent Children and Young People's Mental Health Coalition Schools competition, the top schools judged as improving the mental health and emotional well-being of their students and staffs and parents all used the whole school approaches to raising the resilience and hence the results, rather than just focusing on academic achievements. So let's remember this as we move ahead. we all have understood by this time the importance of timetable. It becomes all the more imperative now because a kid is at the home. He is in the comfort of his home, and he may feel reluctant to follow any timetable, any schedule of any kind, other than the time when he is to be on the remote learning schedule, other than when he is having the online classes. So, in this kind of a situation, we must make sure, along with the parents, communicate with the parents, learn with them how a child spends the day, and you can go ahead and making a timetable for the kid at home also. Encourage the pupil to have structure in their lives. You can help them identify how they can be more organized. You must communicate with the parents. This is imperative. You can be a child's mentor. Now the question rises, 50 kids in the class or 40 kids in the class, how does one teacher do it? We can again have small groups allotted to the teachers, and these teachers can mentor these children, become their second guardian, parent to them, talk with them through the parents. Parents should be always kept in confidence, and you see that we'll all be working towards one whole. We'll all be together in a coherent whole, and that's going to make a lot of sense in future. We have to develop the life skills. Learning goals, academic success is great, but a child must have life skills. Since we are getting time to be reflective a little in these times, let's focus on this. Successfully teaching life skill relies on breaking down into small parts and encouraging the pupils to try out something new. And when we talk of life skills, as I've written over here, it is what you have, what you already know, what you believe in, what you value, and how all of this, it constitutes a set of competencies, your ability as to how you are going to deal with things, how you are going to be adaptive to things, how you're going to function, and how you are going to thrive in this society. So these things enable the individuals to translate whatever information, whatever knowledge they have, and the skills they have, and the attitudes they have into certain specific behaviors. And these behaviors will help them cope with, it will help them navigate and transform the life's challenges. Then we come to coping. It's a very important exercise. It is a strategy. We all know about it. Let the kids also understand it, okay? And how simply can a kid understand this coping aspect of anything? By understanding that there are boundaries to things and understanding that they have to keep within them. It is important to help the pupils to learn about setting and keeping to limits, especially in these times of online or hybrid learning. We can have something like an honor code right before our class begins. We can have certain things on the decorum of the class, which can be communicated to the class and to the kids beforehand only. Obviously, it doesn't involve penalization in any way, but can involve expression of unhappiness. And this is good enough a sign for the kid to understand that till here is our limit, and here we stop. Setting boundaries can at times help the pupils feel safe. Go back to the time when during the recess, when we have a combined recess in the school, and the primary section kids also mingle with the senior section kids. We come across cases of bullying, of different cases of displeasure on the part of the younger kids. And therefore, we in many institutions don't encourage it until the time there is a teacher, a PTE, or another staff to monitor it all. So these kind of arrangements, when they are put in place, when a primary kid knows that there are no seniors around to bully him, to take away his rights, their happiness, they will feel safe. Pupils need a routine and a structure to feel safe. We've talked about it. Boundaries are actually clear rules that tell people how to behave. As I talked about the honor code, we can always develop an honor code. We can always develop a set of which can be termed as a code of conduct for a class. And you can have different one from the other section. There is no need to have the same, because each class is constituted of a different set of individual kids, pupils, minds. It's all different setting. Bravery is very important, and resilience and bravery, they just go hand in hand. The sense of us Being brave makes us confront our personal power. On the basis of that, we are able to, you can say, combat challenges instead of passively relying on other people to sort everything out. The kid is at home. The mother is at an arm's distance. The father is also approachable. Senior siblings are also around. Elders are also around. Let this not make a child become complacent. Teach him. He has to be courageous, brave, self dependent, self sufficient with things. Encourage the people to explore, the pupils to explore what being brave means to them. The ways they can feel braver and how this can make them feel more resilient. So just be you bravely. That is to be taught to your students. A very well formed exercise in problem solving these days is taking the front seat in teaching pedagogies. And problem solving, many of us say, is a learned skill. So teach your children to solve a problem. They can be steps, they can go by them. As the illustration here shows, identify a problem, develop the alternatives. These are the many ways in which a problem can be solved. Then select the best alternative and then implement. See, does it work? If it doesn't, you had more options, right? When plan A fails, there is always a plan B. So please have a plan B and make your kids understand the value of plan B in life. Helping pupils focus on one problem at a time can help them avoid getting overwhelmed. You can always indulge in, exercises where DIY approach is used. These days, there's a much, you can say it's a much heard term. It's quite in vogue. Do it yourself things. So this is a brilliant way to tackle problems in life. Well, I believe at times putting on rose-tinted glasses is also a very good way to feel resilient. It is an idea to put a resilient spin on the things that help make sense of something from the past in a very positive way. It offers another view for the student to make sense of an event and develop a more adaptive view of their lives. So I remember a child of mine, grade 11, he was in an integrated course, a lot of academic burden, but he was a passionate footballer. And he took out time to play football. He pursued it. He was there in the school team. He went ahead qualifying the various, initial matches to play the finals. And to utter dismay of us and ill fortune, he broke his elbow because the field was newly laid with astroturf and it was the first time he was playing over there. So some less idea or some, mistake, whatever you may call it, he could not play the match. And what followed was pain and agony, physical as well as mental. But we gave him this perspective that he was one of the very few in that integrated section who could pursue his passion and pursue it to a good level. He could reach the finals. People saw him playing. He could exercise his passion. He was kind of an all-rounder, and that gave a good view, that sense of being receptive, adaptive to things. Sometimes, I love the statement, sometimes it is about managing life rather than changing it. It is important for our students to learn this. We can foster student interest. It shows, a lot of it is shown through the slide itself. Whatever is a favorite interest, develop that in them. Give them opportunities. It's not possible for us to give them live lessons in guitar or piano or tabla or dance. In that case, dance can once be done, through remote, but not the other music instruments, maybe. So indulge in simpler things like maybe gardening. Every child can have a pot at home, can watch a sapling grow, and it can bring great pleasure. So these kind of things, when the children do and when they succeed, they help the pupil feel that they have control over their lives. They feel confident and resilience automatically set in. It is a reminder for all of us here. Remember that tomorrow is another day. Helping pupil to remember that tomorrow is another day, help them find a solid place to stand. They should never be overwhelmed by the stresses and challenges of today. They must be taught to let go of the worries and wait for another day in hope. Another thing very important over here is train the child to please shed his inhibitions about being egoistic about things. You need help, you be vocal about it. Talk about it. Tell him leaning on others when necessary is not showing your weakness. It is your strength, it's your maturity. Whenever you want the support from any corner, express it and it will come to you. This is what I tried to say over here. Have a laugh. Well, laughter is the best medicine. It has been proved time and again. So just encourage your pupils to have fun, laugh with them in the class. It makes them feel normal, stronger, and able to cope with the life's challenges. Teach your children to be empathetic to those around you, learning to walk in other people's shoes, at times. It may involve awareness and appreciation of differences. Rather, it does to a great extent. You understand how different the other person is from you, physically, spiritually, culturally, maybe materially also. So, lack of appreciation of others' feelings can attribute to many negative practices. And I would like to talk about bullying. Bullying happens when you are not empathetic towards others. And these days, we have the threat of cyberbullying looming large. So condition your child thus. Make him be resilient towards it. Take responsibility of yourself. It again is true to the elders also. See that you have a relationship to the things and to the people around you. And you can influence this rather than assuming that things are happening to you, right? Make the kids understand that they are steering their ship. They have the onus on them. They need to learn, they need to perform and improve. And you, as a constant guide, is there by their side. Help them know their own sense of usefulness and personal power. We all are blessed differently. So just explore and accept. Then we come to the teachers, some basic information I believe every teacher has, and it's very good. You must be paying attention to things like the type of housing your child lives in, and the family income of the child, the access and transport, health and hygiene, exercise and sleep, and play and leisure. When you become a teacher mentor, when you adopt a group of children, when you communicate with the parents, all this knowledge will come handy to you, and it is imperative in our journey from now. Because as I told you, the child is not with us. The child is with the parents in the home amidst all these things, and they make a mark on it and on our efforts also. So we must be mindful of this. Now, coming back to the point where I talked about a survey, when I thought or came across the fact that the children are worried and they have different kind of apprehensions in their mind, they're skeptical about the future. So I thought, let me interview them on the basis of certain questions. And I had this questioner here with me. What was your biggest concern at the end of March 2020? How prepared was your school or college for online classes? When did you realize that educational procedures shall not be the same? How secure do you feel about your future? Which of these best describe your professors operating during pandemic, and other things? And the result came in the form of this histogram here. So I basically focused on three things: the technological preparation of the schools, the educators' technological proficiency, and the parents' resources. And the groups, as I talked about it briefly previously also, I took the Indian schools or the Indian high schools, and then I took the Indian colleges. Then I took the Singapore high schools. It is a small but very advanced country, so can be one of the, you can say, constants here. And then we have the US colleges over here, a big, huge country, but a good state of advancement, and see how the things have fared. In Indian schools, many places, technological preparedness of schools was higher than teachers' technological proficiency and the parents' resources. There was a different situation in the Indian colleges, very different in the Singapore high schools. They were very well prepared. The only shortage in educators' technological proficiency was where things were difficult to be taken online, like maybe physical education exercises. But they got back very fast, and the schools functioned before closing for the summer vacations over there. Talking of US colleges also, we have a particular pattern over here. So, well, these were just indicators as to how we have sailed in so far during this pandemic. If you talk of how resilience will look like, how your core self must look like in the coming time, and from here, moving ahead from here, we can talk of these things. The focus should be on our inner worlds. We have to talk about thoughts and beliefs that we have within us, those that make our character, those that fortify us, those that give us inner strength. Helping people to feel good from inside is encouraging them to learn about themselves, and accepting the fact that there is room for change all the time, every time, and they must do it. Pupils have a strong sense of themselves and more confidence. And when we have good self esteem, it applies to us as well. So, impart it to them. They can manage situations better. It is also said that we must never lose on hope. Hope is a very, very important thing. So, first, let us be hopeful and then try and make our children hopeful about the future, and never ever lose hope. I remember my one of my favorite poems lines over here. Being a literature teacher, it happens all the time. Hope is a thing with feathers. It is said hope is a thing with feathers that perches on the soul, and it sings the tune without the words. It sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. So just make a child hopeful about the future. He will never feel defeated. That is how positive impact works. At the end of it all, when we come to winding up things, I would like to salute all my educator friends. Salute to you, because you too are humans. You have been sailing through unforeseen circumstances. You've been doing it pretty well. It's natural to feel daunted in the face of this challenge. And it is a really tall order to make the kids resilient, as I've written over here, when there is so much of uncertainty around. But we signed up for it to be disruptors. Disruption leads the way to innovation. You can be changed by what happens to you, but you can't be reduced by it. Please remember it. I just heard it sometime back once again by one of my mentors, and the way it reinforced strength in me. She just said, don't let anybody reduce you ever. And thank you, ma'am, if you are listening to this. You never know how you strengthen a person on the go just by your words like that normally. You are already pushing your boundaries, dear educators, and congratulations on that. Today, what education is, it has never been before. And it's the teachers who are leading the disruption. And for me, you are one of the strongest COVID warriors. So, this is something which I had to basically tell you on the basis of my presentation. And coming back to ourselves, I think I have done my bit, and I would once again like to say, I stop screen, Prina.
No, not yet. It's still there.
Okay. So I'll just close the PPT. Okay, so here once again, I will just wind up. I will say that in the middle of this pandemic, neither do we know the nature of the virus, nor we know the manner in which the society is going to react to the disruptions caused by it. But again, educators, what do we call ourselves philosophically? We must remember that. We are the torch bearers. We call ourselves the trailblazers. So to feel jittery is normal. What do we do when we find ourselves in the tempest? We might be in the tempest, but we shall sail differently. We will use the gushing wind in our sails to discover new harbors and those that are unexplored so far. Rather, you all have already begun. I'll once again thank Dr. Sunita Gandhi for this marvelous initiative, Geti. And I have known ma'am as a really progressive educationist. Many of us have already tried the ipsative approach, assessment approach that she talked about. Approaches like these are the need of the times. We need more mentors like you, ma'am, and we need more educators like you, dear friends, all those who are with me, with us here today. And I think I should hand it over to Prina for any more proceedings.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a very informative, very insightful session. As you just wind up with the educators, that they are the ones who are fighting really hard. So, if what about if I talk about their resilience, the emotional resilience, the mental resilience about the teachers, how they
When
can
I,
build up
yeah.
like uh,
Many of the places, if you see, when I talked about things in the presentation, I said first it applies to us. We have to work on our inner strength. We have to have that understanding first that we have to be resilient. And it comes from many things, it comes from many different sources. We have to look back at our
right,
experiences, how we have sailed through and reached this point. We have to have understanding of our responsibility, who we are guiding, what kind of a responsibility we are shouldering. And I'm very sure with this kind of an insightful, you can say, reflection, we shall all the educators and all the teachers, they shall be emotionally strengthened and they shall be going ahead from here. See, this is a profession we chose by liking. Those who are teachers and passionate teachers, I believe they must be feeling very responsible currently. And they don't need any impetus
absolutely.
from anyone else. And if, as a human being, at all you feel let down, if at all you feel a little laid back, then please remember, as I said, you are the trailblazer, you are the torch bearer, and you will be enthused with emotions like never before, and you will be on the task in no time.
Wow, that's very motivating. I think there's a question in the comment section that you can see on your screen.
Yeah,
Uh, Excellent presentation, indeed it is. It was, and gives a lot of learning. But how to reach to the unreached from the lower SES?
the unreached from the lower SES. I mean, the
I
question
think
is a little unclear in the sense, I mean, we are already talking of the online learning exercises. So, is the question here is in the wake of lack of technology, our access to them, or we are talking about the pedagogical limitations?
it could be the, but like if I talk about the technology part, how to reach
See,
that
if yeah,
section in
if
that
we
case.
talk of the technology part, then if we see that there is a Central Board of Secondary Education, the CBSE, it has worked on many options for education to reach these very unfortunate pockets. If actually, unluckily, the child or the parent is in such a pocket where there is no access to technology in any way, by virtue of the regional or the demographic constitution, then there are radio channels, there are TV channels committed to this, and we'll have to extract the best from that. But if it is the problem of a particular household, right, of a
Right.
particular household in a region where otherwise people are all having access to the technological, you can say technologically impacted education, then it becomes a different theory. In that case also, I would like to say on a lighter tone that these days almost everybody has a smartphone, and in these 95 days, 95 to 100 days, those who did not have, I would like to talk about the helpers in my house also. Even they could afford a smartphone, because you have to prioritize at a time. Education, if it comes with this kind of a preparation, I think we must go ahead with this kind of a preparation.
Okay. Truly said. I think you covered all the important points, and as you can see, the comment section, people were really enjoying.
Thank
And
you to
yes,
them.
this is temporary.
Yeah.
Even ma'am joined us. It was very informative, keeping in mind the current scenario. So it was really nice. And yes, this is temporary, and we will be back to the normal, but with bit changes, not bit, but many changes. We have to be prepared. We have to upgrade ourselves, and yes, we have to climb out of the hole and bounce back, no matter what the situation is, because this is life, and it'll keep going and coming. So,
Exactly.
yes, it was a wonderful session. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your precious time, ma'am. It was really
Thank you
nice
so
to
much,
have you on this
Prina.
forum.
It was
Pleasure is
my
all ours, ma'am.
pleasure.
And
It was my pleasure. Kudos to everybody at Geti. You all are doing a brilliant job reaching out to people, talking about education. I love the disruptive education movement. May it grow strong and strong and stronger. We need more people like you. We need more people like your
we,
mentor.
thank you so much, ma'am. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for your
Thank you.
words. Means a lot. And thanks
Pleasure.
everybody for joining us. And we will be back again with another session. Till then, take care, keep moving, be positive. Goodbye. Thank
Be
you, ma'am.
positive. Thank you, Preena. Bye bye.
Yes. Thank you. Bye bye.